Hey everybody, I hope you're doing okay. I am doing a 5-foot long canvas and I'm going to do an acrylic pour and, well, that's going to be an acrylic swipe. In the spirit of feather dance, so I'm kind of using feather dance as my reference, and I also drew off a little grid just to give myself a clue how I wanted to actually do this. I have painted my canvas, which was white. I painted it black, and then the flood coat that's going to go over this, the skim, I'm just going to skim it. It's going to be a really thin layer of a skim coat. Artist Loft Black Flow Acrylic, half and half with US Floetrol, and then a little water. But I don't thin it down much because you don't want it to be thinned down so much that your swipes on top bleed out, and I've done that before. And then the rest of the colors, I'm using our Deco Art Americana 1:1 ratio with the Floetrol. No water added because you really just don't need it. The consistency is really just kind of perfect. And then I've got a couple of metallics like Deco Art 24 Karat Extreme Sheen 1:1 with the Floetrol. Some of the metallics, I have a copper, it's a little thicker. You really just don't need to add much water at all. Spot On Treadmill Lubricant, I've had this for 5 years and still have this left. But I haven't done acrylic pours in quite a while. This is a commission for Miss Kathleen Osmore. She kind of left it up to me to choose the colors. So I decided to go with the rainbow colored effect with a few metallics. I'm also trying to decide if I want to move my camera angle. This is kind of difficult because it's a 5-foot long canvas. So let me just see. Okay, I moved the camera to the side of the canvas and it just really was too skewed, and so I know the further away I get, the less you're going to see, but I'm just going to try my best just to kind of show a little bit of the process and you can just watch. Okay, I don't know if I was recording or not. I'm skim coating with the black Artist Loft, and I mean skim coating. I'm not putting it on and tilting it and having a really thick layer. I have my pool trowel, which is famous for the feather dance part of it. But with this being, this is a 5-foot long canvas and 15 inches wide, so it may be too big for what I'm trying to achieve. So I will probably paint the sides with the same paint with black. All of my colors are in these squeeze bottles with have the screw-on lids. Comparison of the two holes, very different. You get controlled swipes or laying down color with this kind of bottle. I'm not going to talk while I'm doing the rest, but my metallics are in little cups that I will use and just make a little spout and use that instead of the bottle. But you don't get as much control that way. That's why I use the squeeze bottles. Okay, so I've got this completely finished, and I'm going to show you how I varnish a painting. And you have to work really kind of fast because this has about a 4 or 5 minute working time, and it's Liquitex high gloss varnish. And the customer actually requested the satin finish, but I'm still going to start out with the gloss varnish and then see how it looks before I switch to satin. But it will make a huge difference in how vibrant it makes it feel. Once again, this did have silicone oil, and I cleaned it. You can use Dawn dish liquid and a cloth and just kind of suds it up, and then rinse it off with a wet rag and let it dry really well. That's one option. Here's another option. Perrier is wiping it down with mineral water. It's a little less work to do than sudsing it up with dish soap and doing it that way. So give this a try. Have a well-lit area where you've got some different angles that you can see your piece from, so you can see it in the reflection of the light. I've got a wide, probably like 3-inch sponge brush. Make sure there's no hairs or anything. It is damp. I keep it damp, and when I'm finished with it, it goes back in a Ziploc bag that I've written the date on, and I will reuse it, and I will not rinse it between. I will leave the varnish on the brush. For me, it just works better that way. So like I said, you're going to have to go kind of quickly. Don't shake your varnish up because you'll have extra bubbles, and put it on pretty healthy. So I'm just going to start here. And I just like to go around in circles and just work really, really fast to just get it on. It will look milky. That's okay. And when you put kind of a healthy dose on the first time, it guarantees just better coverage and everything. This is a 5-foot canvas, so you see how quickly I am able to just go ahead and proceed along the canvas. Now this does have some bubbles, and we will torch it in a minute. I've got some little goobers from this varnish down to the end here. But I'm not putting a very light coat. I'm really putting a pretty thick dose of coat of varnish. I call it a dose. Okay, just to get a really quick coverage. And then with a light touch, you can go up and down. I'm barely touching the surface. I'm not putting a lot of pressure. It actually, when you go in a circular motion and you go really fast, it actually shows less brush strokes. Now this is black, so you're going to have to be cognizant of anything landing on your black. I've turned off my ceiling fan that's overhead. So that's pretty good for that first coat. Then you can take a torch looking for any little specks. I can always go over it with black if I need to. But anyway, that's the first coat, and that just took me a very short period of time. So I'm going to let this dry for multiple hours, a couple hours or so. And I'll bring the camera over the canvas so that you can see. But I'm going to do a really quick cut on the sides as well while I've got my varnish out. I didn't really have any dribbles that went over the edge. I don't put excess on where it flows off, but it is pretty healthy coat, you know, right on the get-go. So again, I just put my sponge brush in a Ziploc bag and I seal it up, make sure there's no air in that bag. And in a few hours, I'll come back and do a second coat. And I'll also brush in the opposite direction, or I'll start going around like I always do. So here is a picture or a video of it, just going over the top of it. And I'm not in a super well lit room. This studio is about half lit on one end. I'm probably standing in my light here. But anyway, here you can see it from the bottom end up, but then it's upside down for you. So we'll go this way, the way you've been seeing it create. It just makes all those colors really pop again. And we'll do this again and I'll show you more. Okay, so I went ahead and did another coat of the gloss, and as you can see, it's pretty shiny, but you do still see a little texture. So if you don't want to see texture, you would do probably at least 2 more coats. One for sure. And this last one I put on pretty heavy. And I really find that if I just go in that circular motion, I don't see as much brush strokes and that kind of thing. So now I'm going to switch to the satin finish because that was the customer's request. So this was high gloss and now we're going to satin. And I got my torch for any bubbles at the end. Again, I'm using a wide brush. It's clean, but it's damp. I always start with a damp brush. It's not like wet damp. It's just not a dry sponge. I'm going to do the same process, just putting it on really healthy. And just a light touch. Make sure to get it to all those edges. Kind of like buffing it on. If you see any really heavy puddles, just kind of buff through it. Okay, and if you just see a heavy spot, just kind of buff it out just a bit. But as long as you work quickly, it has time to do its thing and kind of self-level without it getting to a point where you touch it and it tacks up and you remove it. So you've got to work quickly. And again, it will self-level. So you don't really have to do back and forth strokes, or, you know, you just really don't have to. And this works really well for a narrow canvas because you can really kind of work quickly down the whole thing. Now, if you've got a big wide canvas, you've got to find a way to work across that whole surface pretty quickly. So I'm going to torch. I find that the satin varnish feels a little bit thicker than the high gloss. Just an observation of mine. So I put the second coat on last night. It was late, and I put it on really, really heavy, kind of like this. You could see cloudy spots that looked like light bluish, because it's not totally clear when it's wet. It's a little bit milky, like a bluish, milky color. And I went to bed thinking, oh goodness, I hope I didn't go too thick. But it dries clear. My worries were in vain. Now I'm going to let this dry for several hours. Normally I keep my ceiling fan on in my studio, but I've got it off. I don't want any extra dust, dog fur, anything flying around that will absolutely land on my piece. And we'll check it out in a little while. So you can see that up close.